let's bring in Mike Florio here. Joins us on the program. Let me start with that. Who's in better shape, Mike? Jets or Giants?
I like your point about the Giants being in the NFC East. You don't have to be in very good shape to be in good shape in that division. But I'm intrigued by what the Jets can do, Dan. After hearing our guy Chris Sims last week praise Zach Wilson, the BYU quarterback, the presumptive number 2 pick, if the Jets do indeed take him and move on from Sam Darnold. This is a franchise that's been looking for a franchise quarterback since Joe Namath, for crying out loud. If they get this opportunity and they seize this opportunity and Wilson becomes what Sims sees in him, then I think the Jets are in pretty good shape. Robert Saleh, highly respected coach. The team being built from the inside out by Joe Douglas. Mike McCagnon, the former GM, was doing too much building from the outside in. For example, signing Le'Veon Bell when they had no offensive line. What are you thinking when you do that? So I like what the Jets are doing. We're just so conditioned to think the Jets are going to stink that it's hard to imagine them being any good.
We were also talking about what's going on with Seattle with Russell Wilson, where the newsletter comes out to the season ticket holders, and and the owner signs off on, hey, let's mention the new offensive coordinator, the running backs coach, and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. And, oh, by the way, we'll just leave out the NFL Man of the Year, Russell Wilson. Do you think this is by design, Mike?
Yeah, well, this is the recovering lawyer in me talking, and I practiced for 18 years before abandoning it. Thank God for this. But any lawyer with any influence over that organization would say, if there's any chance we're not going to have this guy, we better not include him in any materials aimed at getting customers to buy season tickets, because the last thing we need is some smart ass filing a class action lawsuit seeking a full refund on all tickets because you led us to believe that Russell Wilson was going to be on the team when you knew or should have known that he wasn't going to be on the team. It could be that simple, but it tells me that it's serious enough that they thought it would be prudent and smart and wise and potentially something that would save a lot of money to not mention Russell Wilson, so no one could say you led us to believe he was going to be here and then you traded him.
Okay, so this isn't nefarious on their part. This is just being smart on Seattle's part.
I think being smart is not mentioning Russell Wilson. Being nefarious is mentioning all these other people. That's where it becomes.
Well, who are you going to go out and see, Mike? I mean, you got to come out.
It's a little twist. Yeah. You got to twist the knife. You know, you got to market Shane Waldron, the new offensive coordinator, if you want to sell tickets, guys. What are you thinking? But I think this is a manifestation of that frustration they've got to be feeling because he's been twisting the knife on them. This is their chance to give it a little twist back.
Jerry Jones is getting credit for, hey, I know what the salary cap's going to be, so therefore I can spend this money on Dak Prescott. And it made me wonder, Jerry knew about this? Do other owners know about this? Why is it that Jerry's the only one who gets credit for, hey, I know what it's going to be, I can spend this money? I haven't heard one other owner get credit for a signing because he knows what the salary cap's going to be. Is this insider trading, Mike?
I'm glad you mentioned this. This is the stupidest take that I've heard in the aftermath of the Dak Prescott signing, that Jerry Jones somehow has inside information that no one else possesses, that there's going to be an influx of cash from new TV contracts. We all know that's going to happen. They've been talking for weeks that these deals are impending. Some expect them to be announced this week. This isn't a secret. Yeah, no crap. I almost said the other word. There's going to be more money available in future years, and you're going to push these cap dollars into future years, and the cap's going to keep going up. That's a no-brainer. Everybody knows that's what's happening between the TV deals and gambling. The cap is going to keep going up and up and up. This year is a temporary dip, and next year it's going to start going up. And by the time this Dak Prescott deal expires, it's going to be a lot higher than it is now, and he's going to be in great position after 4 years to get paid again and to get paid even more than he's getting paid now.
Who has a better contract, Dak Prescott or Patrick Mahomes?
Without question, it's Dak Prescott. Look, Dan, last year when the Patrick Mahomes deal came out, 12 years of a commitment, and it's not a two-way commitment. It's a one-way commitment. The team can rip it up whenever they want and move on, and there's a point where it would make sense for the team to do it if for whatever reason he's no longer a special talent. We believe that he will be, and he believes that he will be. But I remember that the Mahomes deal came out before the window closed on the Dak Prescott negotiations last July 15 on a long-term deal, and he went with the franchise tag instead. And I asked someone in the know, if you take this contract and you scratch out Patrick Mahomes and you put in Dak Prescott, would Dak take it? And the answer was unequivocally, no, you don't do that deal. That Mahomes deal is an outlier. It's an albatross, and it was done with one goal in mind. So his agents could say, we negotiated the first $500 million contract in league history. It's a bad deal. I mean, think about this. Over the first 4 years of Dak's deal, he's going to make more than $50 million more than Mahomes over the first 4 years of his deal. And when Dak's deal's done after the 2024 season, Mahomes is still signed for 7 more years. He's counting on Clark Hunt, the owner of the team, being willing to tear up that contract at the appropriate time. That's fine. Some owners will do it. Other owners won't. Jerry Jones wouldn't. So that's the leap of faith Mahomes took. So without question, Dak's deal is better. $66 million signing bonus, record. $75 million paid out this year, record. $95 million fully guaranteed, record, and only a 4-year deal.
If you're Dak Prescott, do you ask Jerry if he can give one of those golf checks where they hand it out and it's that huge check? Like for just it says $75 million and he hands it to Dak. I would love that photo up because, Jerry's, although we haven't heard from Jerry. I thought he would take a victory lap here, Mike. Why not?
Well, because, look, Dan, they screwed this up. And this is the flip side of the Jared Goff cautionary tale, because after Goff had 3 seasons in and people were saying, well, he's going to get a new contract, there were plenty of people in the league and in the media saying, why are the Rams going to give this guy a market value contract? At some point, one of these teams has to say, we're not going to do this. We're not just going to make you the next highest paid player in league history just because your contract is due to be renegotiated and you've been on the right side of pass fail. The Rams did it, and now they regret it. They're unloading Jared Goff plus something. They're giving something up in net trade assets to get rid of his contract. The other side of it is when you have your guy, you got to move quickly to get him signed. And the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets. And the Cowboys waited and waited and delayed and delayed. And they kept thinking that Dak Prescott was going to wake up one day and see it their way, take less money, accept the fact that being the Cowboys quarterback leads to all sorts of other earning opportunities, and just say, okay, we'll accept whatever you want to pay us. And he never did. And he finally had them in a spot where they had no choice but to give him this contract. So it's nothing to be proud of. It's their own fault. If they'd have done this in 2019, they would have done it for a hell of a lot less than what they're paying now.
He's Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk Live co-host, and you can go to his website, profootballtalk.com. All right, what's this mean for the next group of quarterbacks? Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield. Who gets paid, who doesn't?
Well, and this is what's fascinating about the Dak deal, because the quarterback market was irrelevant to his leverage and his contract. His leverage was driven by the second tag and the likelihood that next year the Cowboys wouldn't have been able to tag him again and he would have become a free agent. That's what determined his number. But now that he's getting 4 years, 160, it becomes relevant to these other quarterbacks. But, here's where the challenge is for the Bills with Allen, the Ravens with Jackson, and the Browns with Mayfield. First, you got to be sure it's the guy. Is this the guy? And I think Ravens, Bills, yes. Browns, I'd be tempted to give it another year, all due respect to Baker Mayfield. But once you know it's the guy, you got to move and you got to get it done. And you got to put a number on the table that he'll take. Because if he waits, it's only going to get more expensive to keep him. Lamar Jackson is 4 years away from having the Ravens in the position that Prescott had the Cowboys. So now there's an opportunity for the Ravens to get something done that Lamar Jackson won't say no to. And this is where it's important to have a good agent. You need to have a good agent who is going to fight with you, or fight for you, not with you, fight for you against the team, but potentially fight with you when you want to take that offer and the agent's saying, no, it's not right yet. Let's not do it. Let's not give in. And Lamar Jackson doesn't have an agent. And my concern is the Ravens are going to make him an offer that blows him away, that isn't nearly as good as it could be. But without an agent to slow him down, he's going to jump on it. And that would be a huge win for the Ravens if that happens, Dan.
There's talk about Tom Brady restructuring his deal. What if Brady said, pay me $1 million?
He could do that. He could do that.
But if he says, look, I'm going to take $1 million, because what is left for Brady? Another Super Bowl. That's it. He doesn't care about the all-time passing numbers, and he cares about how many Super Bowls I put up, and he's going to get endorsements. But if he said that, Now you can bring back Shaq Barrett. Now, you franchised Godwin. Like, you can keep the band together here because Tom wants to make one more run here, at least. Why not do something like that?
That's exactly what Drew Brees has done. We just assumed he was doing it as a cap favor to the Saints and that he wasn't playing. Still hasn't retired. If Brees would somehow play, he's gone from 25 to 1.075. That's the minimum for anyone with 7 or more years of service. That's the least that you can pay someone. Tom Brady could do that if he wants to. He could say, I know I'm supposed to make $25 million this year. I'm just going to take $1.075 million. You can have the rest. Keep the team around me. It's more important to me at this point to get to number 8, not to make $25 million. And yeah, he could do that if he wanted to. And that would be something if he would do that. And that would put them in a great position to keep all the guys that they're trying to keep.
But just imagine what that would sound like if Brady said, look, I want to keep the guys together. What that would mean for that team in that locker room. Not that they aren't, following him as the Pied Piper, but I mean, that'd be pretty revolutionary.
Well, it's kind of what he did in New England. Now, there's two schools of thought on why he took less in New England. Some would say he was being selfless. He wanted to have enough players around him. You want to have depth when your starters get injured. You don't want to slap some undrafted guy who's never proven himself into the starting lineup because of injury necessity. Part of it too was he was always in fear of Bill Belichick waking up one day and saying, we're paying this guy too much money. We can't afford this. We can do better dollar for dollar with someone else. So there was always that healthy dose of, what if I get cut because I'm making too much money? And that's one of the reasons why I know for a fact he kept his money in check. But this would be the ultimate, I'm giving back my earning potential. I mean, think of what this guy's worth to the team. And this is where I struggle with it, because I'm a firm believer guys should get every penny they can get while they can get it. They're going to fill that stadium this year, pandemic permitting, because of Tom Brady. You're only taking $1 million. If you would only take $1 million when you're the reason that a place they haven't been able to sell out in a generation is going to be sold out. So it's a tough balance, and you don't want to sell a guy's earning capacity short. But if he really is sufficiently driven to get to number 8 and maybe to number 9 and maybe to number 10, then one way to do it is to say, I'm going to take the bare minimum.
You brought up Drew Brees. What's going on here? He's supposed to be on this Sunday night football night in America set with you coming up next season, Mike.
I've told you time and again, they only wake me up for the unimportant meetings. I don't know what's going on with Drew Brees. And Sean Payton told us 5 weeks ago, Super Bowl week, that he expects an announcement from Drew Brees in the next week to a week and a half. And here we are, nothing from Drew. There was that video of him pushing a sled. I mean, that's not just a guy who's trying to stay in shape. That's a guy who's getting ready to play football. So I don't understand it. There's no urgency for him to do it. Maybe he's just enjoying the moment. I don't get it. But he's already reduced his salary from 25 to 1.075. And if he would show up and say, I'm back, what can the Saints do? What are they going to say? No, we're going to cut you. So it's fascinating. And I'm sure there are some people within the Saints organization that are a little bit nervous about how this is all going to play out.
You know what I thought was the tip-off that he's retiring when I saw that video of him pushing the sled?
The change, the Jason Witten type change.
Yes.
Up north. Yes.
Yes. There was a little more moss on top of his head there, and that struck me as the I'm going into TV hairdo.
But let me just make a general observation. and this is nothing against Drew or Brian Urlacher. But once it's gone, it's a little more conspicuous when it comes back. Like, you need to intervene in the process at some point before it's obvious, like you're Kevin from The Office and you show up at Jim and Pam's wedding with hair. It's kind of obvious at that point, Dan.
Yeah, I know. That to me was the tip-off, Mike. When people say, what's he going to do? I said, well, he's retiring. How do you know that? Because he's got new hair.
Well, look, you may be onto something officially, though.
And I don't have a second source right now, but I'm working on that, Mike.
Well, I will say, I mean, obviously, I wasn't even sure it was him in the video. Obviously, there has been something that's gone on up top. It's not just diet and exercise that causes it to reverse itself. But whether that's the motivation, I have no information.
And you don't have to worry about that.
I don't.
Look at that head of hair you got.
Yeah, it's most of it's mine.
Yeah. But you haven't colored it, right?
You know what? Dan, and full transparency, Dan, we had this conversation years ago. It was starting to go gray. And I thought, hey, now's the time to do it. You intervene, you freeze it in place where it is. And I did that for about a year or two. And then you see a picture of yourself with really dark hair and it looks pathetic because you're aging, but your hair is really dark. And it's like, I don't want to be that guy. And I'm not going to name names. It's 70 that has a full head of jet black hair, but is otherwise 70. So I stopped. And for the most part, it depends on the lighting. For the most part, it looks not as gray as it really is. But yeah, remember the Bob Barker thing? Like he took a week off on Price is Right and he showed up with full head of white hair and everybody went nuts. It's like, yeah, it was ridiculous before that because nobody believed he had a full head of brown hair. You just got to embrace it. You got to accept it. Just be glad you're alive and be glad that it's there. I don't care what that's my official position. I don't care what color it is as long as it's there.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Dan.
That's Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk.